It's February 27th, day 38 of the Trump presidency. And let's find out what absolute bullshit happened today, shall we? Actually, today was a weirder news day, and I am not as furious as I normally am, and I can't tell you why. I should be. So, Republicans, this is a crazy story. Republicans are anonymously reporting that they are receiving physical threats to themselves and their families over their support of the Trump administration, meaning, like, for instance, the vote on the budget. Because there was a really weird thing that happened the other night when the budget passed. It kind of didn't pass, and then they're like, all right, I guess we got to do it again. Then they called it off, and then they quickly did like a snap whatever, and some of the votes had changed. So what I'm saying is reports are coming back that behind the scenes people were literally physically threatened. And The Guardian is reporting on this. That does not surprise me. And it has to be a strange situation for those people to realize that they're like in a lot of danger now because of the situation that they put themselves into. Super messed up. And I don't know what can be done about it again when we are quickly being surrounded by an administration that is operating unlawfully in every way imaginable. Speaking of which, when all of the federal funds were frozen, it froze all of there's a term for it. It's basically like credit cards that are given to organizations like the VA and hospice and Medicaid to purchase their supplies, to purchase gas for their transportation vehicles, basically to do everything that they need to do. It goes onto these federally funded cards, essentially. They've all been frozen. They all have a balance of $1. So I've seen a bunch of videos about this, how these organizations aren't really like operational right now. I saw somebody who works for hospice talking about it. I saw somebody who works at the VA talking about it. I know that some of these like funding freezes and whatnot. Oh, sorry, my cat is digging her claws into my hip. I know that some of those have already been ordered by judges to resume, but again, are they doing it? I don't know. I haven't seen any updates about that. Sorry, I'm moving the camera back a little bit. I have not seen any updates about that, so I can't give you one, but I will tell you as soon as I find out. I thought we already passed another deadline, but anyways, I'll make sure that I do some digging tomorrow and let you know one way or another if they're complying or not. But I don't even know if they know what's going on. And I'm saying that because someone asked Trump today, a reporter asked Trump about calling Zelensky a dictator. And Trump, I saw the video, very sincerely, he goes, "Did I say that?" And then they were like, "Yeah, you said that." And he was like, "I can't believe I said that. I don't remember saying that." So again, dementia, Alzheimer's, something else, I don't know. But it looked very sincere. It looked very sincere. I actually believe he doesn't remember saying that. So the implications of that are kind of crazy. I certainly don't think of Trump as a guardrail to any of what's happening, but he may not be there mentally. So we may truly be dealing with President Elon, who is on a whole lot of drugs. And that's pretty freaky. And especially if he has some sort of like team of thugs that's like threatening people's lives. Crazy stuff for a movie theater. Probably not something that we want to be living. I don't think we get to say anything about that. I mean, unless you know how to hop into another dimension really quick. And if you do, please call me. The Tate brothers the Tate brothers, who have been charged with rape, sex trafficking, I don't know, drugs, selling drugs, a bunch of stuff. And were being held in Romania on those charges while they're being prosecuted, have been released to the United States and flown to Florida. I think we know who's behind this. These are like heavy red pill guys. If you somehow have managed to not know who Andrew Tate is, first of all, I'm really jealous of you. Second of all, he is he's a rare specimen of the type of guy that falls perfectly into the same category as Trump and Elon. And I'm sure that they're planning to like give him some sort of like important cabinet position, because obviously look at who else they've already done that for. In any case, they were released to Florida. And what's interesting about this, and the part of all of this that is a little bit enjoyable, is that Ron DeSantis came out and made a statement saying they're not welcome there. He wasn't notified. It wasn't discussed with him. They don't want felons that are, they don't want rapists and sex traffickers there. Never, ever tell anyone this, but I agree with Ron DeSantis. Am I on Ron DeSantis' side? Generally speaking, absolutely not. But it's interesting because I don't think I ever told you guys this, but similarly, Mike Pence keeps speaking out against Trump. Hate Mike Pence, but I am also appreciative that he is willing to do that. He waited, I think, a little too long. But I see these two factions. Again, they hate each other. So there's like the people that are trying to be like ultra right-wing Christians, like evangelicals, the Project 2025 people, versus these like weird tech bro, slimy drug dealer, sex trafficker guys, right? And they all have a lot in common on both sides. Honestly, they do, but they're fighting for control and they do not agree about how things should be done. So interesting. Speaking of slimy piece of shit podcasters, Joe Rogan's show has tanked like pretty majorly. His ratings are way down. What's more interesting about that is Midas Touch is a news organization that I follow on TikTok, and they have surpassed him. Like they're way up. They're at 6 million subscribers on YouTube or something. Sorry, I never like wrote that down because I don't give a shit, but they're doing awesome. I think that Joe Rogan, maybe some people thought of him as being moderate until he got involved in Trump's campaign. And maybe some people just like haven't really forgiven him for that, some of his listeners, and they just stopped, Who knows? It's hard to say. Obviously, we don't have data on that, but I mean, it tracks as far as I'm concerned. So there are anonymous sources at the Washington Post saying that there could be essentially like a mass exodus of the workers because of what Jeff Bezos did. And I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Do you want to work at a newspaper where what you can say is being heavily restricted and controlled? Not just like in the opinion section, but I'm sure, it's going to be a little Fox News-ish. And I think he was making that clear in his sort of like weird editorial posts that he posted the other day. And I think it makes perfect sense if people who have worked there, that news organization, I think it's probably pretty moderate. Maybe it leans even almost like a tiny bit right, but like it has historically been fairly respectable. It certainly isn't like a Fox News, It's not like a trash news rag. And now it's probably going to be. And I don't think people want, the people that work there probably just don't want to fucking deal with that. They're going to leave. It makes total sense to me. And I guess time will tell if the rumors are true. Speaking of just, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't even say speaking of. This is just some dumbass shit. Kash Patel is dead serious when he says this. Honestly, like, I feel like a lot of what's happening right now is satire. It's like handing the mic to like a 13-year-old boy who's like angry at his mom because she grounded him. Now he's like plotting her murder or something. In any case, Kash Patel wants to bring the UFC, yes, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, to train the FBI. Dead ass fucking serious. That to me like reeks of some stupid, weird, like you watch too many movies fantasy that he has about like what that organization is and does and how life works, man. He has no idea. These guys probably think that they're doing revolutionary things, and it just reminds me, if you've ever done VR before, if you've seen someone else doing VR, they look stupid as shit. When you're doing VR, you're like really locked in. You're like, wow, this is crazy. And it feels so real and all these things are happening. But if you were to see what you looked like while you're doing that, you'd be like, dude, I look like a loser. And that is what it feels like to me watching these men think that they're doing something. Like you're doing something, you're flailing around and trashing the US government. But you're not improving anything. And you're not helping anyone, not that you ever wanted to in the first place. You're making a scene, is what you're doing. Anyways, it is funny until all of the grandparents are homeless because their Medicaid was cut off and the nursing homes, they can't pay for their nursing homes anymore. And then all the grandparents are homeless, or, families are completely rearranging their lives. And you know what? I don't know. I hope that people are willing to take their parents in, and I know that that's not always an easy decision. And sometimes you don't have the resources to take care of them, but people might end up having to just make do with the best they have. You know what I mean? Horrible. Speaking of horrible, transgender U.S. service members are being removed from the military, from the Pentagon. Honestly, like, when I saw that headline, part of me was like, didn't that already happen? Because I can't keep up with this shit. Maybe they were just saying they were going to do it, and now it's actually happening. I'm sure those people were prepared that this was going to happen. Quite honestly, like, for whatever reason, every time we have a Nazi meltdown, it always starts with them. And again, maybe it's because in order for capitalism to control people have to stay inside of their box. They can't see people happily living their lives outside of that, having freedom of expression, living in ways that don't conform, and like doing it happily, giving other people ideas. Because the reality is, for instance, like a lot of these Republican men are very gay. That's why they're always crashing Grindr every time there's like an RNC conference. And they have historically been closeted. They've had wives and families and then just met their partners, their male partners, for trysts here and there on the side. And, the Nazis want that because it's keeping capitalism afloat. It's keeping the order of society the way they want it, essentially. If we just totally usurp that and then start like helping each other or start forming like different types of bonds with each other that are not the nuclear family, and, people are already talking about like lavender marriages, but on purpose, like they used to be accidental a lot of times. Marrying basically like straight person marrying a gay person to form a financial alliance, and then you just do whatever you want. People are trying to reimagine our situation because what we're doing isn't working. And all of this is in response to that. Like, as people start to have more freedom and find more happiness and become more self-actualized and make more money and be less interested in constantly chasing the carrot of trying to prove that we're hot enough, that we're whatever enough, buying a bunch of shit that we don't need and that we don't even want. Like, Gen Z is doing less of that. I mean, now they're being like red pilled, so I don't know if that's still true, but it was true at one point. So in any case, transgender people always get put at sort of like the head of the sword and shoved through first, and it's absolutely horrifying. They know it's coming, we know it's coming, and I just hope that those people are able to escape safely, and I hope that they know. I understand that it would be very hard to know this. I mean, I feel a much lesser degree of this just being a woman and knowing that I am hated for that in so many circles. I hope that they know that this is not about them, dude. It's not. They're beautiful, wonderful, tremendous human beings. I'm sorry, I just used a fucking word that Trump would say. I'm ashamed. They're incredible human beings. They bring a tremendous amount of value to the planet and to the world, and they push us to ask hard questions, and they are needed and they are wanted and they are loved. And I know that there's going to be people that internalize what's happening, and it's unavoidable and it's understandable, but I wish they wouldn't. The US and the UK are discussing a deal. It seems like, what is that guy's name? Is it Stiver or something? The new UK dude knows how to play Trump, and this is good for them. This is great. Honestly, like the less damage that can possibly be done, the better. So they're discussing some sort of trade deal, and Trump is saying, like, we might not need to do tariffs. So whatever he is saying to Trump is working. And I appreciate that. And I hope more people learn how to do that. Give him a bunch of compliments. I mean, Trump walked away from that meeting saying a bunch of weird shit about him, like calling him a king and saying he's amazing and all this weird shit. So that's what he does when someone has given him a sufficient amount of compliments. God bless you. The US is, okay, so the tariffs start tomorrow. Forgot about that, didn't you? They start tomorrow. So Mexico and Canada, 25%, right? And then China was going to be 10%, and Trump decided it's going to be 20%. So that all goes into effect tomorrow. Cheers. I mean, tomorrow is also a financial protest. I think it's stupid to limit this to one day. I don't understand why we're doing that. But it's basically like buy nothing day tomorrow. It should be buy nothing day every day, bitches. It should be shop locally. It should be buy used for anything that you possibly can. It should be limit your purchases, period, babe, until things change. But when you are supporting businesses, make sure they are small local businesses. We're not supporting Walmart. Unless you're somewhere, obviously, I don't want anybody who can't get to another store to feel ashamed ever. You got to do what you got to do. You got to get pet food. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get what you got to get. But anyways, former defense chiefs are calling for congressional hearings on Trump's firings of the senior military officials that happened a few days ago. I think that's wonderful. And yet again, all of the legal proceedings surrounding what he's done so far, and we come back up against the question, and now what? Because now, especially that this information has come to light, that there are physical threats being made, you're not going to get people to vote to impeach him. So if they continue to just do illegal shit after illegal, more illegal shit, and we don't have an impeachment or removal process, we have no process for stopping them, I don't know what difference it makes. It almost feels very similar to when we were going through the, proceedings with all of his legal shit over the last however many years, 8 years, 4 years, whatever. Does it even matter if nothing ever happens? I mean, it's the sentiment is nice, but okay. I think that, I think it's worth a shot. It's better than doing nothing. Speaking of doing nothing, MAGA is having a huge fight about the Epstein files because Trump won't release more information. Two guesses as to why that is. His shit, his fucking mug is all over, everywhere in there. They were like best friends. There are literal audio tapes of Epstein talking about Trump. He knew the inner workings of Trump. They were very close. They spent a lot of time together. He's all over the flight logs. We already have seen that, though. Like, what's already been released has Trump's name all over it. I don't know why he doesn't even just bother, just fucking release the rest. Like, they don't believe it when they look at it. Their face looks right at it, and they don't believe it. It's the same crap that's happening. They have all these rumors, even though, like, even on X, this shit gets fact-checked, and it says, no, that didn't happen. But people keep telling everyone that they just voted for no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. They didn't. They didn't do that. That didn't happen. Those were not included in the budget. They're not in the tax plan. And yet, people on TikTok, all the right-wing people on TikTok, right-wing people on X keep spreading these rumors. And some of them have actually been deleting the posts afterwards because I think they've realized, like, oh, actually, maybe they finally went and looked at the budget documents and saw it's not in there, babe. No one's coming to save you. They lied. We told you they were going to lie. They've been lying this whole time. You thought that they wouldn't lie to you. And that's a you problem. Someone who treats a homeless person like shit is going to step right on your motherfucking throat one day. Mark my words. And that's true for all relationships. If a man cheated on his ex, he's going to cheat on you. If a woman lied to her ex, she's going to lie to you. It's yada, yada. Unless someone has done a remarkable amount of inner work, maybe sometimes people can change. I have gotten sober. I've done a ton of work on myself. That being said, I was never the type of person who lied or stole. So I don't know. I don't have the experience of going from like liar to not liar. I'm sure it's possible. But I would say to save yourself, you should stay away from those people. Anyways, there's going to be potentially millions of people learning that lesson over the next few years. Like, they've been played. They've been lied to. Especially when it comes to the Epstein files. And they'll probably never believe it. You know, they need to stay in the cognitive dissonance because coming to terms with what happened also shatters their sense of self at this point. Their sense of self is so deeply embedded in MAGA. It's crazy. I still sometimes can't even believe any of this is actually happening. And the last headline is that a judge has partially halted all of the federal firings that are happening, in particular with people who've been employed at organizations less than a year. What are they called again? Probationary workers. So, again, though, they've already fired a bunch more people this week. Will they comply, or are they just going to keep firing people? And then people are... I've always suspected since the very beginning of this, because the way people were acting and being so weird, like they're trying to hold them back at first, and then all of a sudden they're just like, all right, and just like let them in. To me, that depicts someone who's being threatened. So now that we know that they're threatening members of Congress, members of the House, like now that they're threatening actual government officials, I promise you they're fucking threatening these like piss-ons. Absolutely. They're threatening anybody that's just like the head of a department of an organization. Yeah. They have way less access to press and the media. They're definitely getting their lives threatened. So again, does it matter when people have guns to their heads? I don't know. Man, another wild week in the United States. Tomorrow's Friday. That's very exciting. Hopefully, the second the news is over, we can all just pretend that we're on another planet for a couple of days. But, you know, there's no rest for the wicked, and I highly doubt it. Anyways, love you guys. See you tomorrow.